Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to winterize our 97 Sea-Doo GTX. It's a 900cc. I'm just going to show you how I winterize it. I am not a professional. How you do it is your business. I'm just telling you how I do it. Now we're going to go over some of the stuff that we need. So to winterize our Sea-Doo, we're going to need a concentrated fuel stabilizer. Just you can get that anywhere, Canadian Tire or Home Hardware. There's a lot of places that it can be found. We're going to just use this to stabilize our fuel over the winter. We're going to need a funnel, regular funnel. We're going to use some fogging oil to fog the engine. In this container I have just a little bit of antifreeze. I like to put antifreeze through the system to make sure that nothing gets frozen. Use some paper towels, clean up any mess. Plus, we're going to put in as much gas as it'll hold. I like to, when I winterize my machinery, I like to fill the tank full to have the least amount of evaporation as possible. We're also going to use a regular ratchet set. It's a 13/16 with a regular ratchet to remove the spark plugs. So let's get on with it. So when I put this Sea-Doo up on the 90-degree angle, I forgot to mention that this is the perfect time to shut off the fuel and let the Sea-Doo run. The reason why we want to do this is we want to get rid of all the gas in the carburetor so that we don't get the carburetor gummed up. So don't forget, fuel off, run the Sea-Doo until it shuts off on its own. So in looking at the Sea-Doo, you can see that I've already washed it all, got all the algae off the bottom. I always advise people to just use a mild hull cleaner and scrub it off with a scrub brush and get in to all the little nooks and crannies. I like to put the equipment away nice and clean. Clean the engine. The engine's beautiful and clean. So we're going to start by removing the spark plugs. So getting started, the first thing we want to do is remove the caps, the spark plug lines, and get our plugs out of here. So we don't want to turn too tight, we don't want to break anything. We're just going to loosen it out like that, like that, and then we're just going to back those off by hand. That's one. Got the second one out here. I like to take this time to just inspect it. We don't have a whole lot of carbon buildup there. That plug looks pretty good for next year. We'll just use a paper towel and dry that off, clean it up. And the other one too. The other one's looking pretty good. Not a lot of carbon buildup. Nice and clean. Should be good for another year. Take a paper towel. I like to just clean them up a bit, you know, get any residue off. Like that. Come out nice and clean. So we'll do that to both of them. Same deal. Just want to kind of spin around a bit and clean everything up nice. So this Sea-Doo is using an NGKR, the BR9ES. As you can see, I usually change them once a year. So now we're going to bring those spark plug cables back to the battery terminal, just in front of it. Whoop. I just bring the cables back. The shortest one here. Just clip onto there, and then clip onto this one. And now we're going to look at just fogging up our spark plugs, and we'll put the spark plugs back on. For this, we're going to have to turn the motor over a bit just to do a little, make sure we get that oil down into the cylinders there. So we're going to use this fogging oil. It's just regular fogging oil. We use it to protect our engine. It keeps everything kind of greased up inside, gives it a nice thin layer of oil down the cylinders and everything else. So we need to put in our key. We got power, and let's give it a go. I just take it and spray it in kind of like this. A little shot, and then I take a little paper towel and I'll just kind of put it across like this, and then I just give it a couple of shots. We'll just spray down there again. Don't be shy with your fogging oil. We'll give it another shot, and then we'll put our paper towel back across there, give it a couple of shots. That's it. I put my spark plugs back on, and I don't put them on all the way. I just kind of sit them back in there. And what I like to do is I like to take the cylinder spark plug that I used on the back and I put it on the front, just a little switch for the new year. And the engine's pretty much fogged. We're all done. Now we're going to move on to sending the antifreeze through. So I've already taken out most of the water out of the engine and the muffler system. What I do is I tilt the Sea-Doo on a 90-degree angle. I start it up, I rev it up a bit, and get out most of the water. So now we need to make sure that our back seat cocks are closed. As you can see, I got a little bit of dirt on here when I leaned it back at 90 degrees. So we want to make sure these are open completely to let the hull dry out, and any water that's in there we want it to drip out over the course of the winter. We're also going to be able to monitor back here if we have our antifreeze coming through the system. So let's go have a look. So now we're just going to remove this hose right off the engine block itself, the manifold, and we're going to put our antifreeze through the block basically. So I can remove it completely. And as you remember, in our little bottle, we just have regular antifreeze. I believe it's a -40. Anything over -30 will work. So now I just kind of take the bottle, come through the back, and I stuff it in here. And what I do is I squeeze the bottle, sending antifreeze through the block. And we should probably go around the back and have a look and see if we have pink stuff coming out. Right now we should have some antifreeze going through the motor, coming out the back. And once we see that, we can go ahead and come on back, and we're going to put just a little bit through the main cable again, just to make sure. Let's get the cable, and I just usually put some antifreeze down in there, make sure it's frozen. It's not going to freeze up and bust. Once we're done with that, we're just going to hook it back on, because we don't want to forget next year. In the spring, we're always excited to get rolling on the Sea-Doo, so we're going to close that up. Make sure it's good and tight. Alright, so we also got to take out the battery every year, or else that'll just sit there and drain. I always start by removing the negative. Take that screw, put it somewhere where you're not going to lose it. Take the positive off. Take that screw so we don't lose it. Sorry about the noise in the background. Need to undo this strap here. Remove that. And then we can lift the battery out. And just set that aside. And one last thing that I like to do is I like to take all of my cables with a simple zip tie, and I like to put them all together so I can easily find them in the spring. I'm not going crazy looking around. And there you go. Got the battery zip tied, batteries out, spark plug cables are hooked on. we're almost done. Don't forget to put the screws back on the battery. Definitely don't want to lose those. Step by step, we're going to get her done. So now we're going to put in our fuel stabilizer right into the gas tank. I like to put in fuel stabilizer. It just stabilizes the fuel for the spring. Got gas sitting around for 6 months of the year, so I like to just put a bit in. We'll put the funnel and we'll just pour it right in. I usually put in a little bit extra. I want to make sure that I have enough. Take the rag, forget to clean up the area, and the stabilizer's done. So now we're just going to put in some gas. So now we're just going to top up the gas tank so that we don't get that water condensation and build up over the course of the winter. I like to use a siphon hose. Just put her straight in. I siphon the gas out until it's full. Don't want gas and everything all over the place. So now we got the gas rolling. Now we're just going to fill it full. So you're probably asking yourself, how do you know when this thing is getting full? Well, you just want to lift the hood, take out the bin, and we can look right in here. We have the gas tank. We can actually see the gas level coming up here. We want to stop it when we get to about here. We could even add a bit of oil, but oil doesn't evaporate as much as gas, so we're not going to touch the oil for next year. We're just going to fill this tank full and call it a day. And that's going to pretty much conclude our video. And that's how to winterize and store a 1997 GTX Sea-Doo. Let's do a little quick recap. First thing that I do is I take the Sea-Doo and I raise it up to about a 90-degree angle. I turn the fuel off, I run it, and I rev it a bit to get any remaining water out the back. Second thing I do is I take off my spark plugs and I clean them, and I run a little fogging oil. We want to turn that engine over to make sure the cylinders are nice and lubricated. The next thing I do is I take out the battery, take that out, and I put that on a trickle charge. I'm a person who trickle charges. I trickle charge all year long. I believe in saving the battery. You can do what you want. The last thing that we do is we send the antifreeze through the whole system and fill up the tank, stabilize the fuel, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I've owned this Sea-Doo for over 10 years. I've been doing the same thing every year. It's a 1997 GTX Sea-Doo. It's a 900cc, 3-passenger. Runs like a charm. It's in great condition for 1997. But you need to do what you need to do and watch other videos to see what everybody else does. This is what I do. So what I do and what you do, two different things. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please like and share. Subscribe to my channel. This is Outdoor Hobby Guy wishing you a fantastic week. Hope to see you on the next one.